Morning, it's great to be with you. As one of the things we were talking about yesterday is the difference between interpretation and illusion, and misinformation dividing the two. If you want to make like a squad and have them look decked out, you're going to have to choose the most iconic, and it's usually the one who's running the game. Understand what they do and how they do it in two ways: the electromagnetics to your brain and the DNA of everything else. Understanding that when you're doing that, it's actually pertaining to not being a doll or a robot. And a doll would be like a chiromancer. It would be something like a reptile that spits venom. Basically things that are animalistic. Humans have that ability because there's poison in our body, but we don't use it as a gain of function, like the secrum sac in the appendix. Good morning, it's good to be with you. I found a scrying mirror, or a good interpretation of it. There's a difference between, oh look, there's one over there too, but from a distance it just looks black, and that's a greenhouse. And what we're dealing with on Earth is a greenhouse effect to some extent, but we don't know the exact measurement, and we're treating it like it's an uncertainty principle, when actually it's just the tools and the instruments needing the cobwebs to be brushed off, and they need some new bells and whistles so they can show off. They're not showing off, it's not in the papers, where the tabloids and the tablatures are selling our souls. And then a more important note, what gets our souls is the confinement of the body, which some people claim they can leave their body, and metaphysically, hey, I'm not saying you aren't. Metaphysically, that word's almost as dangerous as the conspiracy word. Conspiracies are things that aren't even words. It's like an imagination. Those three words are really dangerous, but it isn't something that everyone should. It should be starting blocks, like when you run and you put your feet on a block, and it's the starting block. And with the atmosphere, there's a. That would be a place where you could farm if you were farming through the internet. You could farm through the layers and treat them as mixing them up. Because when you do farm, you get like a drill, and you drill into the sand, the clay, the dirt. It's just like sand, clay, and dirt. They're all similar because they're on the ground. Like a starting block, it is on the ground. But then they're very different because an imagination and a conspiracy, and then the other word, which I just forgot, is all capitulated as starters. So it's don't knock the start. And perhaps that's what our DNA is the starting ableness to start with. The bones, the marrow, all that pulling of the tendons is all a thing that cells do, and that's important because cells are living and thinking, and so maybe the soul is benefiting from those, and it's just no different, or maybe there is a difference, and that's how you become a robot or a doll. And so like that's. I think the notion is conspiracy is bad if it's in uncharted territory. But when someone says, "Oh, my spirits are raised, and I feel larger than life," or DiCaprio scripted in Titanic, "I'm on top of the world," right before the ship hit an iceberg and went to the bottom of the ocean. But this is the people are so gleeful and that notion is probably more dangerous than the opposite, where it's denouncing imagination and conspiracy thoughts, because that person's still going to think, if they're rebellious and are doing it because it's joyful to them. But the person who is punch drunk off larger than life will ball till they fall, shop till they drop, and sell out to do so. Now, I'm not part of different social medias, and I'm barely teaming to upload anything to YouTube because I really want to, but I'm not quite there yet. And from an outsider's perspective, I think I'm dead on. And one of the parts where it's kind of more dangerous is that if you say that you're for the underdog and you want the hardest presents, the best gifts for the underdog, and then you hold like a rally and you say like these things, but then you have all these Jeeps and they're all aligned, and all the Jeeps are brand new, and there's a lot of them, and it just looks like a Jeep commercial that you just sold out, and there isn't a lot of the other, there's no one there with like broken down vehicles, the ones that you were talking to the whole time. And one thing that's important, the separation of like that tree and then the different colors on here, they could have the same colors, but to the naked eye they're drastically different. And that's one thing where you don't want to get confused of as like just being the gleeful and living larger than life, because those two things will be bypassed and sold out. You'll actually have like be punch drunk and actually think that they're the same. And when that happens, boom, you've entered doll land. It's the cake house moment. That's when you fall through the rabbit hole if you're else. The cake house moment is when Hansel and Gretel are walking through the forest, and then they're so hungry and lost and scared, and then all of a sudden they turn their head and they see a cake house, and it's a witch. The judgment you can't do, because I'll never knock someone for hustling something on YouTube. However, it is, I feel, my job that part of my storytelling is to depict what is bad and what is good. I'm going to do this like through math and then enforce it with games, and then the user's pick is going to be like, you decide. But more importantly, so when it comes to like makeup, there's a lot of channels that do makeup. I'm not that into makeup because it's like feminine, and there's like a lot of kids who are wearing tight pants, and it is pushing an agenda to confuse, and I'm not going to be on that bandwagon. But there's a big difference between hygiene and makeup, and that is going to be like a thing where you can get real close to both and do it properly. It's called the sweet spot. So I'm going to be understanding how to do that properly and show you a great way. But it's real important to know that even that way is probably going to be on the fence, because that's what I'm aiming for. But when it is, it's going to be the closest thing to the fence that has ever been conceived. That we lost the battle, or maybe we did, but the war is still on because we've got the water. The water is the ocean. We've got trees. Trees are not yet gone. A lot of them are infested, and a lot of the ocean is polluted, but there still are there.